Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of OneMicNite podcast. My name is Marcos Luis, and I want to thank you all for joining me for this episode. If you haven't already, please make sure you like, subscribe, and share these episodes. We've got a lot of incredible people that I want to share with you, and today is no exception. My guest today is a singer. He's a songwriter. He's an actor. He's an entrepreneur. He's a humanitarian. And he goes by the name of Claude Jay. Please welcome him to OneMicNite. What's up, Claude? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Marcos? I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me and spending some time here at OneMicNite podcast. Listen, I have questions.
Okay, right. Let's go.
The first question is, who is Claude Jay?
Claude Jay is an artist, a performing artist. Certainly a young man, young at heart.
For sure.
Certainly an artist, but someone who certainly uses my art and my gifts in life that God has given me. Certainly my being a Christian and a person that knows that there is a higher power that certainly has provided and certainly kept me through this journey of life. So an artist that's on a journey to share my gifts and talents, which I have been blessed with. And so that's really the essence of it, being able to use those gifts to be a part of this time, to entertain, to enlighten, to educate, to, excite,
right,
to all of those things.
Full connectivity.
Yes.
Let's get down to the meat and potatoes though. But where did this all start? Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Stop. I lived there. I lived in Pittsburgh for a while.
Wow, really?
Absolutely, yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. So you know a little bit about the Burgh, as they
right,
say.
I know a little bit about the Burgh. My mother was the dean of the Homewood Rushton branch of Community College.
Oh, wow. Yes. Well, I do know of that. And that's where I grew up, in Homewood. And and as a matter of fact, my mother, who had taken classes there and went on to University of Pittsburgh, a master's degree and teacher in Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh. So I grew up in Pittsburgh, and my father was president of the Homewood Rushton Improvement Association. We had a movie theater in Homewood on Homewood Avenue. So that's where my roots are in music, and certainly
how was that for you? How was that growing up for you? Where did that all begin?
Music began. It came out of a place because as a kid, trying to find yourself, and really, actually, music saved my life and changed my life, because I started out really as a kid early. I went to school at 4.5 and really didn't like school. And it wasn't until I discovered music in elementary school that all of a sudden I came into my own, and so to speak, started getting good grades, and really music was that balance. And so, I had great teachers, fortunately, in elementary school, and took piano lessons in high school. One of my favorite teachers, who is still a mentor, she's 92, Mrs. Bertie Nichols. And and then
give a shout out to your teachers. I always say, we as artists, we need to say our teachers' names, because they are the ones responsible for where we are. Who was your teacher again?
Yes, well, the high school teacher, elementary, Dr. Harry Clark and Mrs. Bertie Nichols, and Rita Hilliard, my music teacher, my piano teacher. And and music was there. So the craft of developing music was there. And also I went to a high school of Westinghouse High School, which was a school where Billy Strayhorn had attended. So that was his high school. And my music teacher, it's a long legacy. She was in school with Billy Strayhorn. So they had this excellent teacher, which they talk about in this book, Lush Life, on Billy Strayhorn. So anyway, it goes that. But then that was the craft side, learning music, the arts, the nuts and bolts of scales and, music, time signatures and all of that. But then I had an uncle who was a writer for Motown, and he is from Pittsburgh, Al Cleveland. And certainly that inspired me. I mean, like Motown, was the biggest thing.
Everybody.
Yeah, inspired. So here I had this uncle who was a writer at Motown, and after I really realized what that all meant, and I drove him crazy. He ended up writing big hits with Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, That Second Out of Motion with Smokey, and worked with Donny Hathaway and some of everybody's Spectre records. Yeah, so he inspired me on that side of the popular music, R&B songwriter. I didn't even know there was such thing as a songwriter. I mean, I was taking piano lessons and studying all the scales and, Bach and those things.
Isn't that interesting? I want to stop you right there for a second, because that's a key point. A lot of people of color, a lot of Black people, we don't know those things. And to be inspired by somebody, especially in your family, and Motown Records, shout out to Motown Records,
yes,
giving us
always
a voice and crossing us over to pop music and showing us that we could be this. We could be singers, we could be songwriters, we could be producers, we could grace the stage, anywhere. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was that was just profound. And I had a chance to go to Detroit and, to visit Motown as a kid. Wow. And certainly meet a lot of those great artists, including sit in the living room of both Marvin Gaye and Smokey Robinson.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
And I have say that Marvin Gaye was actually played the piano for me. But actually, he really wasn't. But my uncle took my cousin and I over to his home to meet him, and they were talking, but he was sitting on his white baby grand piano in his living room playing. And I was just sitting there in awe. I'm still in awe when I think about that experience.
That's incredible. What I would give to be a fly on that wall. That's incredible. Probably my favorite artist of all time.
Yes. Oh, right. Isn't he just, yeah. And I could see that in you too, right? That he definitely has impacted you.
Impacted me. I can do a little Marvin for you.
I know. I've been seeing you. I've been watching you. You've been doing it, brother. Yeah, you definitely. And all the others. I spent a day with Michael Jackson and his brothers. And so it was really the technical side of my teachers, music, and then certainly this inspiration, then going on to Morehouse College, where I had a great teacher, Dr. Whalem, and my good buddy, U.Z. Brown, who, minored in music, but I still didn't think I was going to have a career in music. That just didn't dawn on me.
Looking back on all that, that's a lot. How do you feel? How do you feel being, that's a part of history. So that makes you a little part of history too, because you got to experience firsthand a lot of things that people wish they could have done. How do you feel about that?
I feel, it's really, as I look back on it, and I've constantly end up, telling it, because I really realized that I had, like in our lives, there are people who are witnesses to what we do. Mm-hmm. And, so I am the storyteller to say, yes, those people were real. They had things that went on in their life. They had people who they inspired, they touched, they had ups and they had downs, and there were people around. So I feel like just kind of it's dawned on me as like a connector, to really, be a part to tell that story, whether it's considered, and I guess it is, it certainly is history and a major part of music history in the world, and certainly American history and Black history, all of it,
Do you feel like
I really do feel very honored.
I'm sorry. Do you feel like that's channeled through you somehow? Aside from just telling the story, does it come through in your own music or your own? I
think it does, inevitably, because these, it was just an extension, and I know, certainly people poured stuff into, who believed in kids, and who my uncle, who I say I drove Al Cleveland, who I drove crazy about coming to Detroit. I know he truly believed in me, and also he produced my first record, Find Your Light. He was a producer on it. And so I know if you didn't have people to believe in you or see something in you and pass that on, whether it's, intentional. And I know with him, it was intentional because during his generation, people in Pittsburgh, they worked in steel mills and factories, or that's what they were expected to do. And he found his way to New York. And he often says, wow, you did what I did. But certainly the era that he was doing it in the 50s and 60s, wow, you can only imagine a Black man leaving an industrial city like Pittsburgh at that time. It's more corporate these days, always had a certain level there. But, that was really groundbreaking.
Right. During your time in Pittsburgh, I want to throw it back there just a minute. How did that city impact you? Did you feel any love from the city? Did you feel like what was your feeling from the city?
Always. Well, when you grow up, that's what I knew, but always such a great, loving environment and, great parents. I'm fortunate they certainly, allowed me to have all of these crazy ideas, and some that panned out and some that didn't. Pardon me. But Pittsburgh was really, you have some of the great jazz artists who have been there. You have some of the great universities. You have, certainly, Phyllis Hyman and George Benson, and my wonderful friend, Miss Vivian Reed, who great artists, Sally Turntine, all these great jazz artists and, performers, and my uncle. So it's always been a haven, even in the midst of it. And of course, Mr. August Wilson, who wrote about Pittsburgh, who I had the opportunity to meet, and I almost did one of his plays when I went back to Pittsburgh after undergraduate school. And so it's been nothing but love, and it's made me into who I am today.
100%. Now, see, we're talking about Pittsburgh. I had a whole different experience there. I was there for a short period of time.
Really?
I lived in, I went to school there. I went to Shadyside Academy.
Okay.
I was in the suburbs. So my whole life in Pittsburgh was completely different.
Yeah. But because Shadyside is really not the suburbs. It's like you have Homewood, you have Breeze Point, Shadyside, and then Oakland. Yeah.
Right. But Shadyside wasn't located in Shadyside. It was located in Fox Chapel.
Fox Chapel. Oh, so the school.
Right. So the school was called Shadyside.
Okay, I got you.
But the actual school was located in Fox Chapel.
Oh, yeah. That was definitely a
so
suburb.
That was very luxe.
Exclusive.
Very, exclusive. So that was a whole different situation for me.
Oh, no, there are sides to Pittsburgh that I could definitely talk about, because certainly, Pittsburgh, you have the whole Black and white of the city. It was definitely, Pittsburgh was part of one of the very divided, just like so much of America. Yeah. And we're in Black History Month, and, to be very real about all the issues that are going on, very much segregated. And certainly, Pittsburgh, you had the Hill District, which August Wilson wrote about, the area where I grew up, Homewood, and other areas that were, there were definitely lines. And, and I still think, as in America and in the world, there's certainly that residual effect of race and racism that does exist today.
Absolutely. In certain pockets, and certainly I agree in that area. I still have a sister there who, she tells me things. Yeah. So it was interesting. It was interesting growing up there. My school was a 5-day boarding school. So on the weekends I would come home. So I would live with, the exclusive people during the week. And then on the weekends, occasionally I would come home and be with my mother, who was a single mother.
Right. Yes. Yes.
And that was completely different. We weren't the wealthy people of Pittsburgh.
Right.
Great life. Obviously she was in the arts as well. So I was, into the arts too, but it was a whole different situation.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yes. Oh yeah. And that's really, I think, when we talk about, the artists from Pittsburgh, and you really, you hear their music, whether you hear it in Phyllis's voice or George Benson, or you listen, or, all these, and I always knew somebody would write about Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And once I came back, And after undergraduate, I said, Pittsburgh is a place. Little did I know that August Wilson was going to write these profound, prophetic plays about a place that, you know, people had not really paid much attention to in terms of the Black experience, but how the universal existed in that experience, and put a lot of light on it, you know.
Absolutely. And we understand it because we were there. We know what a jitney is.
It was very real. Right. It was definitely. Yes.
I know what a jitney is. You know?
Yeah, yes, exactly. That was, as a matter of fact, that was one of the plays that when I had gone back that they did in Pittsburgh, I was going to, he had a very good friend, Maisha Beton, who is a writer, Dr. Maisha Beton, a poet like August. And she kept telling me, you got to meet my friend August. She and Claude Purdy, God bless their souls, they passed on. He was going to direct this play by August Wilson called Black Bart. And it was a musical or a play with music. And I had just met them all, this artistic community, which was amazing. And they just embraced me. And she said, oh, you've got to be in this play. And so they had set me up to, you know, audition and be in this play. And the play was going to be at the University of Pittsburgh, but it didn't happen. But certainly I got out of that chance to be in touch, meet August Wilson. I have posters from it. And wow. Certainly all this wonderful artistic community that really, and years later, I met him here in New York and we talked about it. And I had several posters and I gave it to him. He autographed posters that I have.
I love that. That's history. That's history.
You're right. You couldn't even make this stuff up.
Not at all. I want to talk about your music. Now, you, sir, are one of those musicians, singers, songwriters that sort of translates across the board. And I find it very interesting because you can sing jazz, gospel, inspirational, even a little bit of house music with a remix. I mean, like you kind of do it all. Where the heck does that come from?
Well, you know,
did you have a big gospel bringing up?
Well, as I mentioned, my teacher growing up in high school, I mean, we had this amazing choir and music department, you know, which, as I said, you know, she was just a great musician. She's 93 or 4. And so, I mean, we would sing the whole range of music. So it was from classical music to Oh Happy Day to, whatever the pop groups we had, with the R&B songs. So we would do all that as part of our concerts. And plus I had, this uncle, and plus I had the radio, the Whammo in Pittsburgh, so it was all, and certainly gospel music, going to church, and it was so much a part of it, and loving all those artists who were just, realizing that's where their experience came from. But singing in a choir and in high school who had that whole range, and also both my teachers in elementary school, they had it. They were trained musicians, jazz musician, Dr. Clark, Mrs. Nichols, who, she had the whole range, choral director, but loved all that and wanted to expose us. So I just found, and then I realized, and listening to the radio, I didn't sound like, I realized this years later, that I didn't sound like Stevie, or I didn't sound like the Temptations or Smokey, who I met, but I had to realize as an artist after coming and starting a professional career, you have to find yourself,
Yes.
Yeah. And that's Absolutely. Where it landed for me for music. I just realized, wow, you do land in these places, which is always a little bit crazy when you think of commercial music, because they want you to fit into a box.
Right. And I think that's great. I think you hit on a key word, which is exposure. And being exposed to different types of music and things helped you find your voice and helped you find yourself. Did that exposure ever take you on a journey somewhere else so that people could enjoy you? Like travel?
Oh yeah, all the time, whether I was putting together, my records, which really are those which have gotten wonderful response was dance music, club music, Love Is the Answer, and Find Your Light. But it ended up being a genre which didn't exist. So Don Allen, who was the program director of WWRL at that point in BLS, he said, you're ahead of your time, because it was dance music that had a message. And it ended up, they started playing it in the clubs and these record pools, and it's done well in Europe. And it's still, people go online, it's on, YouTube and all these sites, these DJs put it up. And so it was dance music that I found this niche that was mine, but I just realized, why not? Why can't you have, club music and dance? And fortunately, I had a buddy who was working with Sylvester, and he took me, we were hanging out in the garage, and Sylvester, I went to one of his last performances and met him, and he was very encouraging. I signed picture with him, and really, he kind of really validated for me that path that I was on, because I saw it in him, that there was that combination that just bring yourself to it. And that's, right. I said, well, I'll try it, and see,
Yeah. How important is that as an artist? How important is it for artists to bring themselves to their work in general?
Well, it's everything, because, as I come to know, be your best self, because everybody else is taken, because, right.
That's right.
And when you are, you hear more people talking about being authentic. And when we are our real selves, it comes through. It really resonates with people. And that's why, so, we get into these paths of trying to fit in commercially, or as an actor, as a performer. But when you bring that real thing from what it is, speaks to your heart, speaks to your soul, speaks to your mind, it resonates. I'm convinced about that. And maybe it's not the audience who you thought, but it will truly be your audience.
That's right. For as many people as you lose, you're going to gain that many people and more.
Right.
Because
yes.
You're being true to yourself. Yeah, and you don't have to convince anyone that you're something different than what you are. You're bringing you right. 110% every time.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And whether you want them to take it, but sometimes everybody's not everybody's.
Not for everybody.
And you come to really realize that, and that's also a good filter for saying what's for you and what's not, because you spend less time on what is not for you as opposed to what's for you, or say, I really kind of, this works for me. I see my work. And that also gives us areas to stretch in, but we also kind of know, it's good to know our area, your forte, so to speak, musically speaking.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
So how was 2020, the summer of 2020 for you? We had a little, with the George Floyd and the pandemic and things happening.
That was really something. 2020 was, it was really, with the pandemic going on and everything, it really, that first week in April, how about that, where we were here in New York and we were talking about, in New York City and New York State, 500 people passing away, and, these lines around hospitals and hearing ambulances all times of the day. It was hard to get a grasp on it. But what happened for me during that summer, I did start channeling some of that energy into being creative. And I went back to a song that I had recorded and really realized that it speaks to right now. And the song is Find Your Light, Read the Signs of Time. And I ended up doing a video that speaks to George Floyd and reading the signs of time, that this is an awakening, an awoke time to, an enlightenment that, and we got to read what's going on so that, this time we'll be able to make it through and to progress. So, try to channel that energy into the work.
Right. Would you ever have thought that in your musical career or as a man of color that you'd be doing something like that?
I really didn't, like I said, I didn't even think I was going to land here. But when I look back on my whole, growing up career, my parents who were in civil rights and, going to a historical Black college and, all of it made sense that there's no way that, something like this would come up and I would not have a voice to respond to it. Including another time, which I responded before this, was the HIV AIDS epidemic when, people were running the other way. It was like because of my upbringing in terms of advocacy for our rights and everybody's rights, and certainly for, the HIV and AIDS, and then really realizing the LGBTQ community, which it wasn't then I ended up being at the forefront, and then I'm working professionally, in which I had left the arts to do that. And I had planned to do that, so just, it will, but that, again, that's where when it's in you, you will find your way,
Absolutely. And that's where we are. That's where art comes in general. I mean, as artists, we fight things, we challenge things, we make our work, to show the light or show the darkness of something that's happening in society.
Yes, exactly. That's that's why it's so, I think this is such a great time for artists, because we have a place where we could actually reflect on what's going on, interpret, enlighten, envision. So it's a good time, not an easy time, because people have to make a living and a life, but it's certainly a time for us to put creative pieces out there.
Right. A time for us to have a voice and exercise our voice.
Without a doubt. Yes.
Yeah. Now, you've traveled all over the world, and I know you have a line. You're an entrepreneur as well. It's called Harlem My Love. Tell us a little bit about Harlem My Love.
Well, it's another one of those things that has grown out of my life that's also centricity, where it grows out of that center. And the center was music, because I had the opportunity to travel to Japan, performing in a play, Faith Journey, years ago. And it was a musical. And out of it, I met people there. My good friend, Miyako Kamini, and we became friends. And she's also a manager, and she was interested in me coming back and helping them first on a project on a photographic exhibition on Harlem to be exhibited in Tokyo, Japan. And she asked me to work with a wonderful photographer I met, Asami Hasegawa, who came to New York from Japan to take these photographs. And I agreed that I would do it under the condition that it wasn't going to show Harlem and all this deprivation and, that so much around the world, people only want to know Harlem in African American culture and Black culture in Harlem and long story short, I ended up working on this exhibition that was shown in Tokyo. And they asked me to give this exhibition a name, and it was called, I just gave it the name Harlem My Love. And from that, I realized years later, I said, that name's pretty cool. I should do something with it. And that out of that grew this product line, Harlem My Love. A souvenir and fashion product line. It's a trademark, it's a brand.
I love that. What kind of things do you have?
It's a souvenir and fashion product line. Well, over here, I don't know if you could see it, but this is here is probably, the light is not the best on it. It's a whole line of products. It's 20 years old, and you'll see the jewelry, which is celebrating the 20th anniversary. Actually, I'm wearing a piece of it now. It's a signature piece to the HML Fine Jewelry Collection. And it started out just with one bag, but it's now grown into T-shirts, and now I have a line of bags I designed. They're leather and mud cloth, individually designed. You can go on the website, HarlemMyLove.com, and see them. So there's, I think this is one of the leather bags you might be able to see. That was just one that designed. That was, but a whole line. So it's taken me on another journey, but it was music that actually brought me to this place, because I never would have done it.
I love that. I love that. Because not only are you, you're doing it for the artistry, but it also leads you into another facet of artistry that you can, you know, continue to show and shine a beautiful light on to the place that we live in.
Yes,
You know what I
yes,
mean? Like
yes,
positivity through another facet of art, through design, through, visual arts, if you will, too.
yes,
Yeah.
right.
Passion.
And it wasn't, and again, that was like just something that, I mean, this just came out, and knowing as artists, we definitely need to be able to, and that's one thing I realized coming to New York, working on all kind of jobs from this to that to
Yeah.
everything, that, starting a business. And I said, why wait till I become whatever that's going to be?
Yeah.
Why not start it now? And that's what I did. That was also a part of why I started my own independent label, which my first recording came out, which my uncle said, I had response from RCA, was interested, but then after they changed their mind, I said, you know what? He said, why not start it? And so it was that entrepreneur. And I realized, again, when you realize your path, as an independent artist and entrepreneur,
I love this.
that was my life.
I love this. This is exactly what I want to talk about. What kind of advice, I'll call you a seasoned, professional. And I say that with, respect.
Please. Yes.
What advice do you give the people, the young artists coming out today? Because the way of music has changed. It's changed. It's completely different.
Yes.
But just in general, what do you give them? Like the mindset that they need to be in to be successful, and successful meaning in your own mind what success is, not the standard of everybody else. Like you don't have to have a diamond record, you don't have a platinum. I'm saying successful in terms of who you are as an artist.
Right. Well, I think a couple of things. I would say, preparation. I said certainly, prepare yourself. If you're going to go into music, learn music. Mm-hmm. Learn an instrument. You may not play it learn what a scale is, learn what, key signatures, have a base, because it does nothing but strengthen your toolkit when you get into situations that will show up for you as jobs. You will have a place to operate from that, you're prepared. So preparation, and that's why, I like I said, I didn't plan to do this, but after, I really realized, as a kid learning music, and you don't have to, no matter where you start or when you start, you can start the preparation and it will serve you. So I say, studying, learn from others, and certainly great mentors like my good friend Gilbert Price, who, when I came to New York, the Family Repertory Company, which I was a member of, and Gilbert was a 3-4-time Tony Award nominee, Broadway of the world, but he shared so much with me. So make yourself available to situations. And he was a voice teacher for me too, just really, besides opening up what to do in New York, he certainly, in terms of career wise, he certainly, and the other thing is back to what we were saying, find what it is, be your authentic self, find that gift. If you are a dancer and your area is classical dancing, or if it's hip hop, or if it's, whatever, find that, or take a little bit of it. And then you might have to go the whole range of it. Like I did, took classes at Ailey and, everywhere. And still, I never considered myself like a dancer, but certainly if a show that I auditioned for, I could move well, so to speak, or move. Let me say I could move.
Yeah.
How well that's just varied.
Right. How is it going to enhance the craft that you do choose to pursue? Add on some things, like you said, add dance onto it, add, learning the scales, learning, the music, learning how to write a little music that might help you in the next job. You don't know.
Yes.
Yes. It's all in the trajectory of where you're going as an artist.
My experience is it has shown up and been invaluable. Yes. I mean, don't do it because you think that you're not going to need it, but do it because it's something that, let me just try it. I mean, especially, and that's what it's all about, because it will serve service. So you serve the work that you're going to do, or serve an idea that you have. I mean, I could go back to any number of those things that said, wow, if I hadn't learned to take piano lessons,
Yes.
I didn't become a pianist, but I could certainly write enough to be able to write melodies and songs. So,
Right.
that part of it served me later.
Absolutely. And, as you are an actor, maybe you want to learn a little about directing, because maybe next year you don't want to be an actor anymore. Maybe you want to try directing.
There you
as
go.
you go along,
Yes.
like sit with a couple of directors and learn how they're doing what they do. And your craft
Right.
will, just increase in value.
Yes, without a doubt.
That's where the success is.
Right, just as as an actor, and sometimes it's even if you're not directing, it's just sometimes going in and saying, I'm going to pay attention to the director. So should an opportunity, and sometimes even our experiences become some of the greatest classes that that we'll ever have.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yes,
100%.
yeah, without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, that has all added in ways that I can't even begin, or immeasurable, without a doubt.
I can't even tell you who knew that 16 years later, I'd be sitting here on a podcast hosting a show.
Right. And let me say congratulations to you. 16 years.
Thank you.
I remember when you were doing the East Village, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Hosting
The
a show,
performances.
putting these shows together, independent bands. And then because of the pandemic, I still wanted to have a voice. I still wanted to tell stories. I'm an actor. I'm a filmmaker. All these things roll up into one. So we get people on here and we talk and we tell stories about their journey and inspire other people with the art. So that's what I do.
And you're doing it. And it's a much needed, and these platforms for being able to, and you're doing just what it's all about, using your platform for that which we can, reach others, serve others, entertain others, and whatever that platform is, can always use for something good and to reach somebody,
Absolutely.
Yes.
And speaking of reaching somebody, your new project, HarlemMyLove.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a little bit.
Yes.
So,
wow.
Go ahead. I was going to say, just among the many, genres of music that you do, being jazz, being, you just seem to do it all. And this latest project, you got a little something going on there with the jazz, right?
Right. Yeah. This one showed up. I mean, like I said, dance music. And then I had the gospel album, Sweet, Sweet Spirit. And this one, just like I said, they show up. I went to the 100th anniversary of Thelonious Monk in 2017. And a good buddy of mine from Pittsburgh Elementary, Douglas Holloway, who is a music executive, and we went to elementary school and we would run into each other, and he had invited, we stayed in touch, and he was involved with Thelonious Monk's catalog, and he invited me to an exhibition, and out of it, I was inspired and ended up meeting his son T.S. Monk, and Doug. I mean, even when we were in touch, I didn't know he was keeping up with me or whatever. But
let's for those people who are listening who don't know who Thelonious Monk is, let's let them know who that is.
Oh, great jazz pianist. You think of Round Midnight, Straight No Chaser. Monk's Dreams, on and on. But he's this great, from New York, grew up, and a great pianist. That his music was not what was considered at that time. They considered it like what is he playing? He was off on, but it really, he stayed true to himself, and
very unique
he created
style.
Very unique. And it wasn't the progressions of chords where people thought, and even today, there are people who like to think that they don't get it, but the proof is in the pudding. Here we are, over 100. He turned to be 100. His music has gone on, wrote some of the great jazz classics, and still to this day are played all over the world.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So people, you've probably heard it and didn't even know it was him. So,
exactly. Mm-hmm. Yes. And I mean, great, including a movie that they end up basing Round Midnight around. And so I really went to this exhibition with just going to see it, but little did I know that I was going to meet his son, T.S. And Doug kept saying, you ought to write some music. I was like, Doug really kind of, that really wasn't sure. So he introduced it, and when I met him, one of the first things within the conversation, we're talking outside the exhibition, which was down in Soho, and he had said, no, the East Village. He said, why don't you write lyrics to some of my father's music? I was like, wow. I looked around like, who is he talking to? Like, really? Like, I mean, this is his father's melodious monk.
Wow.
And and Doug kept saying, yeah, I was like, so here we go. I mean, I had worked on these other genres, and certainly I loved jazz music. As I said, growing up in Pittsburgh, all those great jazz artists, and Billy Strayhorn, the high school I went to high school he went to, and knew of his music. And, so I said, okay.
Why wouldn't I?
Why wouldn't I? So this is where it came about, and certainly that's how the project came about. And as a result, I ended up writing lyrics to Straight No Chaser. What ended up happening in the process, I was inspired by a story as I was thinking about Thelonious Monk. As I was thinking about him and doing gigs, it ended up going, the title changed to Riding Along in New York City, but it's based on the music of Straight No Chaser. And I've added some music in the middle of it, but it stays true to his theme. So it didn't land me with writing lyrics that say Straight No Chaser, but it is a vocal and music, lyrical interpretation of that song.
Artist interpretation, absolutely.
Yes.
I've seen it, and those of you who haven't seen it, make sure you do see it. It's good, the video.
Oh, the video, yes. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate that. It's
so
on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. How many tracks are on the?
There are 4 tracks on the EP. It's an EP album, for those who are, keep up. It's now everybody is up to speed. But it's 4 tracks: Round Midnight, Riding Along in New York City, The Millennium, which is another song I wrote. And the last song on it is Emmett, a Young Man. It's a tribute to Emmett Till, which another project that happened around the same time. I was asked to write something for the movie. And I mean, just out of the blue, like another person who never heard my music or anything, well, why don't you write a song? I was like, do these people know something I don't know? I mean, but it certainly was in my world of certainly knowing of Emmett Till and the Black experience and the debt that he paid in a way that turned up to be inspiration for the civil rights movement, and that march that Dr. King, inspired 1956 and Rosa Parks. So it was in my world of experiences. I said, of course, I don't know who this was for. Well, it turns out to be a well-known movie. We still haven't heard anything what's going to happen. The movie is in the works. That's the movie that like 4 years ago, people was working on, and I didn't realize that that it was going to be that movie. So it's still up. So keep your fingers crossed. But I said, as an artist, I love the song. I said, so no matter what happens, I have to tell this story for myself.
And that's what I love about it too. And this is what I was saying to you earlier. Would you ever guess that you would be in the position that you are now, writing songs about civil rights and change and, things that are so poignant in today's society that move a world?
No,
I change.
I never would have thought, but I think as we go and, try to put these pieces, connect the dots, you go like, wow, I guess that's where this comes from. And that's why I feel so passionate about that. And that's why I'm not going to let this stand for that. You really realize that, oh, these things are, and certainly, or I really feel a debt of gratitude to Emmett Till's mother. I mean, I just feel that I never met her. Certainly, the guy Keith Bouchon, who was involved with the movie, certainly he was someone she passed the baton on, and Keith has carried it, and certainly Whoopi Goldberg, who is involved with this movie. So no matter what happens, I'll support it, support whatever these projects in terms of that speak to our experience, because let's face it, these images were not a part of the American experience, the world experience. So when I did the exhibition in Tokyo, I had to have a disclaimer of what it was going to be like, so now it's our time to really put these images out and tell these stories.
Listen, and this is exactly what I wanted to talk to you, because you are a person who has done that. You have made a mark in this world. Harlem My Love, it's big, Harlem My Love, going to Japan and sharing a slice of our life from your perspective in a positive light. That's big. That's huge. That's huge.
Thank you. Thank you.
And this is what you do. And that's why I'm very impressed, and everybody should know who you are.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, it's just, I like to think of it as, just continuing to, do what I do, and shine that. And you don't even have much time to think about it, because unfortunately, as creative people, we're always inspired by something else. And you go like, so it's really, as they say, about the work or the ideas, or, just being present in this time. And hopefully when it's all said and done, it'll be like, well, there's something that's added up here.
That's funny. Well, listen, would you like to share anything with us? Do you have music
Sure,
you'd like to do?
I do have, I will share Riding Along in New York City, the song that's based on the Straight No Chaser by the icon, Mr. Thelonious Monk. And certainly I'm honored to share these lyrics as I was inspired, and the music, which you will hear in there, that I was inspired to write. And there's going to be a piano soloist that's a guy who worked with me on this project, Etienne Liatel, who he's also on the tracks. So Riding Along in New York City, here we go. Yes, okay, here we go. We're riding along in downtown New York City, a hot summer night, the lights are so bright, the gig is done, let's go and have some fun. The clubs are still packed, the ladies are stacked. If we can find the blue lights, boogie, woogie, Lindy Hop, and bebop dance all night long. We're riding along in downtown New York City, a hot summer night, the lights are so bright, the gig is done, let's go and have some fun. The clubs are still packed, the ladies are stacked. If we can find a blue light, boogie, woogie, Lindy Hop, and bebop dance all night long. Hey cats, we're headed uptown, straight up 7th Avenue. And even if we stop at Minton's and the Cotton Club, don't forget the Apollo 2 and Small's Paradise. Ella Monk, Dizzy, and the Count makes you want to scream and shout. Keep going strong from dusk till dawn. And the music will be playing and the crowd won't stop from swaying all night long. Que pasa? If we make a right turn here, we'll be in Spanish Harlem, where there's salsa and merengue. And there's always Latin jazz. There's Tito Puente. Dee-da-do-do-do. Dee-da-do-da. Dee-da. Shoo-ba-doo-ba-doo-dee. Shoo-ba-doo-ba-dee-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba. Mr. E.T. and Lionel. I'm riding along and down to New York City. A hot summer night, the lights are so bright, the gig is done. Let's go and have some fun. The clubs are still packed, the ladies are stacked. Free, 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 free. I'm feeling free, 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 free. Nothing's bothering me. Nothing's bothering me. Nothing's bothering me. Nothing's bothering. I'm feeling so free.
Yeah, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Claude Jay.
Thank you.
Love that. I needed a martini.
So okay, good. I'll have one with you. Without a doubt.
That was brilliant. I love that.
Thank you.
Thank
you so much.
Feel-good song about New York City.
Right. And you know what the crazy thing, I always said one day I felt like I was going to write a song about New York City.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that it was going to show up another thing in this project. That's another like layer to it. I was like, so there you go.
Tell us the name of it one more time.
The song is Riding Along in New York City. And it's on Apple Music, iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, just out there. So you just Google Riding Along New York City, Claude Jay.
Go to your favorite platform and listen to this
there you
song.
Go.
Download it, buy it.
Yes, please do.
That. If you make a remix of this song with, a new video, I want to be in it.
Okay, then cool.
I want to be in it.
Okay.
We'll talk about that like later. Tell your people to call my people.
Okay, for sure. I will, without a doubt. I love that. A collaboration. That's what it's all about.
Exactly.
Yes.
So listen, Claude, I want to thank you so much for coming on and spending some time and hopping in and singing some music for us. Tell everybody how we can get in touch with you.
Sure. You can reach me, Claude Jay, on Instagram. Claude Jay, just put Claude, CLAUDE, or CJAYNYC on Instagram, or Claude Jay on Facebook, and certainly Harlem My Love is Harlem, HARLEM, my MYLOVE.com. And you can see the product lines and click on store there, and you could shop. And also my YouTube channel, which is Claude Jay, and I have a new projects coming out of there that it's from the vault of opening night, and it's going to be an episode with Miss Sarah Dash. Yes. So that's something that I'm going to release in sometime this week, but certainly look for whether you're looking at this later on, but that will be on there, and there'll be episodes from opening night.
I love that. Thank you so much, Claude Jay. Everybody, please make sure you go to YouTube and check out some of these videos. Enjoy the music. Better yet, go to your favorite music platform and download and buy this music. It's on every platform, Apple Music, Spotify. Do it. Support this artist. Mm-hmm. Yes. Also, you can find him on IG at CJNYC. That's CJAYNYC. Or go to Facebook and find him at Claude Jay. Also, definitely go to HarlemMyLove.com and purchase some of these incredible souvenirs for yourself. Show some love to the city of New York. I want to thank you again. Please come back anytime. It's a fashion line also, and souvenirs as well. And I want to thank you for coming and spending time with us. Please come back.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And congratulations on your 16 years of OneMicNite. That it's and all your work as an actor and filmmaker, all that you do. Thank you so much. Success, blessings.
I appreciate it. Everybody, please follow us. Make sure you like, share, and comment down below at OneMicNite. OneMicNite is spelled ONEMICNITE. You can also follow me DM me on Instagram at Marcos Luis, MarcosLuis. I'm Marcos Luis Everything. Also, make sure you check out the other podcast with my other co-host, Ashley Elizabeth Green, screenwriter. OneMicNite Talk is back for season 2, talking about the topics that you want to know about. Adult, grown-up conversations. Please follow us at OneMicNite Everything. Thank you for joining me this time. We'll see you next time. Bye.